everything swings and roundabouts. I'm not saying, oh yeah, it's been a breeze and we've been sat here drinking pina coladas or whatever, but it's been a challenge, but it's been a really enjoyable challenge. The origins were I'd left my previous role as head of design at TT Games. I'd been there a good innings, should we say, 20 odd years. And I decided at my stage of life, if I didn't go and venture for new opportunities, then I never would. So I wanted a new challenge, wanted something new to get my teeth into. And shortly after I left, my old boss, who was the original founder of Traveller's Tales, TT Games, called me up out of the blue and said, "Oh, I see that you're that you're sort of like happily unemployed looking for your next challenge. How do you fancy doing something?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more." And he said, I'm thinking that maybe we should try something new, and how about we partner up with Funko, and sort of build a new studio, build a new franchise, and go from there. And I was like, I'm an avid Funko collector anyway, I always have been. So for me, it was like, well, hold on, I get to work with something that I actually collect, which is great, and also like they have access to I don't know how many thousands of IPs in terms of all the work they do. This could be really exciting. And not only that, a challenge of building a studio from, I remember, three of us in a Zoom call. It's like, okay, we're going to build it from that into a studio. That's something new. That's something different. It's not just designing games. It's also building a studio, finding the right people, building a culture. And it was like, okay, this is a real good challenge. So yeah, we started then, and we recruited our initial team of people that we've worked with in the past, so that we had that sort of knowledge of trust, like really talented people that we know, we've been through development cycles with, and they know their onions, so to speak. And from day one, working with Funko was terrific. Those guys were just like, look, you're the video game experts, we're the fandom experts. We'll stick to our lanes, but cross over when it comes to the creativity. And it was really, really cool, the early days. Then trying to figure out who we were going to partner with. We had a real strong idea early doors what the game would be. We were like, looking across the gaming landscape. There weren't any games that celebrated IP in a way that they were mashing IP up. There's a lot of games there that maybe are based on an IP, or there's a lot of games maybe where there's like, there's skins or something in there that bring IP in, but nothing that really sort of is authentic to IP, celebrates the IP, and then brings people together like friendship groups. You and I could like completely different things, so we can't really play a game together. So it's like we thought there was a great opportunity there to create something, and that's kind of the origins. And then we were like, well, who do we partner with? We had a relationship already with a lot of the big studios, and Universal sort of felt right because of that wealth of stuff from the 80s, the 90s, all the way through to now. It was just a real nice mixture. So yeah, that was the root of the start of the project, I guess.
Nice. And so are all the IPs or brands or franchises, and what were like some of the ones that you were particularly happy on, like a personal level, of like things that you're fans of that you managed to get in there? And were there any that you really wanted to get that you couldn't, or you didn't think that you could get that you could? Like that must have been, like you say, a whole long process.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, for me, I go back like 8-year-old me in 1983 was sat on a Saturday morning watching He-Man. That's my thing. He-Man's sort of one of my favorite things, and anyone that knows me knows that I love He-Man. I've got a myriad of Funko Pops, toys, collectibles, some of the old classic stuff. Probably there's Mantenna there, and like wherever I go, there's He-Man stuff. There's an old
Oh,
Cringer
nice.
slash Battle Cat with Prince Adam. I have He-Man stuff all over the place. So for me, that was like I've always wanted to get He-Man in a game somehow. So that was a tick box exercise, definitely achieved. But then also, like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead are two movies that I've always loved. That you can rewatch them again and again. So to be able to bring them in again for me was super exciting. Scott Pilgrim, the same. I think it's one of those things. I think historically, when in my sort of my game design life before 1010, I was really lucky to work with some of those huge sort of franchises back on the Lego games. So this is almost like a different spin on things where things that I never thought I'd get to do, I'm suddenly getting to do. And I think that works across the piece. I know that people on the team have been really keen to get some of these IP in, whether it's Umbrella Academy or even the likes of, something like Jaws. It's great to be able to almost bring that movie's 50 next year. Like it's bizarre. I think it was 1975 it came out, and so to be able to almost bring some of those IP that I guess we grew up with as kids to a whole new audience is great. And also getting horror franchises in, something like Chucky or Megan. It's just a real nice mix. And I think even when we went through the list and we're like, can we have this or can we have that? Can we look at the rights for this, that, and the other? Universal were just great at sort of digging through, and initially they went, look, this is all the stuff that we're going to be able to get. Let's look at that. Let's pick through it, and let's find what's going to make a sort of a fantastic video game. And bringing Xena, Warrior Princess, to the party as well. It's just some great stuff in there. So I think there's definitely something for everyone. But yeah, I hate to bang on about Masters of the Universe, but that for me is terrific. Because we get, you've got the classic playables of He-Man, Orko, Man at Arms, and Teela, and then there's that wealth of villains that you've got, Trapjaw and Triclops and Evil Lyn, Skeletor. So yeah, it's just been great fun, from a creative standpoint.
Nice. And it's really nice from the outside looking in to see some movies and TV shows that, like you say, you haven't seen turned into a video game like 100 times before. Like to see Hot Fuzz of characters running around in a game in Funko
Yeah.
form as well. As I think it's nice to see something that, because like, the same few things, like your Marvels and your Star Wars are obviously going to be readapted again and again and again. But to see something, oh, I love that film, and now I don't think I've ever played it in a game before. It's like a bit of wish
No,
fulfillment.
Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, it's exactly that. It's like, how have those things never been adapted or integrated? Because there's classic moments in those movies, and the way that they're shot. Edgar Wright has got a very, very distinct style, and it's terrific to be able to go back and sort of try and like watch them pulling out Easter eggs, pulling out little things that we can then stick in the worlds for people to find and play. And I think that's where when players sort of get their hands on the game, they'll really see the love and attention we've put in to every IP, not just sort of like one or two, but we've really tried to. So if you're a fan of a given IP, you'll see the things you'll want, those things that in your head I wish they'd have done this, or I wish they'd have done that. And you'll find them. You'll find the Easter eggs. You'll find the little nods. And the characters, they just I guess come to life in Funko form. So yeah, it's been a real joy. It's been like we're all sat here like it's 3 years since we started it. I don't know where that time's gone. It's literally just evaporated. It's kind of flown by.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, especially like the last 3 years must have placed it like while COVID and stuff was kind of changing the way people live and work and stuff. So that whole period feels very condensed. It's like, oh, was that really that long ago?
Yeah, and again, when we set the studio up, sort of like it was only just post COVID really on the final stretches, and yeah, we had to sit there and look long and hard about, right, how are we going to build a studio? How are we going to allow people that work-life balance? There's, people have found this new sort of way of being able to work from home, and how do we accommodate that? Like, how do we, but how do we sort of build a culture, getting people in the office? So, yeah, we adopted like a hybrid work strategy. So people do work at home sometimes, they come in the office. And it's about building, a real strong culture for the studio, making sure that, yeah, one of the things we put when we sort of first set out was we're going to make games the right way. We're going to do it so that everyone has a work-life balance. We don't sort of, video games have a bad sort of rep with crunch and overtime. So we don't do those things. Let's try and do things the right way as a studio. And yeah, it's been great. It everything swings and roundabouts. I'm not saying, oh yeah, it's been a breeze and we've been sat here drinking pina coladas or whatever, but it's been a challenge, but it's been a really enjoyable challenge, and the team have embraced it like the whole way through, which is great.
That's really good. Yeah, I was going to try and come on to that because I was looking at your website as well. It's saying, it's a new company that's putting culture first and everything. And obviously, the easy part is to say that, and then the hard part is to do it in action. Like, what have some of the challenges been of trying to kind of stick to that over those 3 years?
Well, it's one of those things we sort of always say it. Um, culture's never something where you can just like tick it and go, right, culture's done, move on, let's do the next thing for the studio. Like the studio culture is always something that's going to evolve and adapt. So we do a lot of work with the team to kind of engage them in our decision making or engage them in the process. We have every 2 weeks, Paul and I, that sort of run the studio, we get up in front of the team and we talk, but we share everything. There's no sort of like, upper management layer and then a load of secrets and it doesn't get shared. This is like we talk to people about everything, about contract negotiations, royalty rates, IP discussions, timelines, like who we're going to partner with, who we're not going to partner with. And I think that helps the team buy into where the studio is going to go, what our sort of 2, 3, 5, 10-year plan is with 1010 games. And yeah, we've had to along the way obviously adapt. We do a quarterly NPS survey. So we simply send out an anonymous survey to the team, and it's literally one question, which is, would you recommend 1010 games to your friends as a workplace? And then the whole idea there is people, rate the answers to that question between 1 and 10. And then there's just a box where they can write what they want, and it's completely anonymized. And I think from there we can kind of track the health of the studio with a regular heartbeat. Everyone has sort of development plans. They have learning and development plans. So, everyone knows like how are they going to get to that next stage of their career. We've got what have we got now? About 86 people, I think. Over half of the people in the team, it's their first job in the industry. They've come in, fresh-faced, energetic, full of great ideas. And that mixing with, I guess, us sort of older, more experienced people makes for a really sort of great, diverse group of voices. But we have to make sure that the people that are new to the industry, it's like, right, this is how you're going to get forward in your role, both in terms of your, I guess, technical learning, but also in terms of your sort of character and your personality. Like, how can we help you gain confidence, be able to talk openly in front of larger groups? How can we sort of develop you so that you can maybe mentor the next generation as we sort of expand further? It's been, that side of the business has been great because, as an independent studio, we can write our own rules. We've got a terrific HR manager who has come in going, right, let's empower people. Let's get people to do their best work, and make sure that we never ever forget that our people are our number one sort of asset. A lot of the time, sadly, people put profits first, and it's like, let's put our people first, make sure we're always going to that, and then we'll, look after our people, look after our players, and then largely the finances should look after themselves. So, we've stayed true to it thus far, and long may that continue.
Definitely, that sounds really it's like really refreshing to hear that. I was wondering as well, like in terms you mentioned trying to avoid anything along the lines of crunch as well. Is part of that to do with uh not necessarily having like a line in the sand of we have to, because it seems to me like you've announced and kind of fairly close to launch. You haven't said like, oh, it's coming, until it kind of looks like from the demo you showed the other day, it looks like, yeah, this looks ready to go. It doesn't feel like you've rushed it towards like an arbitrary deadline.
Yeah, I think when we set out initially, we had a vision of the team we'd need to make the game we wanted to make, and we had a clear plan, and we'd planned out the finances and everything else. And I think all we've done along the way is just always just go back to the plan and go, right, where should we be? Where are we? Do we need to adjust? Yeah, and we've just done that like regularly to make sure that we're going to deliver a great game, but we're going to do it in a way that the team is engaged with it, and we don't burn the team out. We don't break the principles that we started with. And it's one of those things. I think, I've worked on enough games over the years. When you've got a deadline, there's various things that can happen. It's either the levers are, you can move the date, and so you can give the game more time. You can add more people. You can reduce the scope, or you can crunch people. And it's like, we just made sure that lever wasn't there amongst the levers we had to pull. And we've looked at things, we've probably adjusted the scope, or you know, like juggled around some of the design content. We've definitely looked at sort of timelines and dates and made sure we've got the right number of people. And we've tried to make sure we do it the right way. So I think we revealed a trailer in 2023 that was more of a tease. That was like a, let's test the water. Are people going to like this? And the reaction was great. So then we just went quiet for a year, carried on doing what we're doing, grew the studio a little bit more, and carried on working. And then when we released the trailer in April, it was like, right, we know when the game can come. We know where we're at. We're confident with everything. Let's go for it. And so we're now in that process of I guess getting the game over the line. And in that time as well, decided we also want a challenge. Let's publish it ourselves digitally, and let's really go for it. So it's been great. It has been good. Our partners have been terrific all the way along the line, and the team are they're now really looking forward to it. Yeah, I've been lucky. I've released probably about 30 games in my career, but it's great to see the sort of the sort of youngsters on the team who've never released a game, and that sort of enthusiasm. They're looking at the trailer reactions. They're getting excited when they see like the box on the shelves with the pre-orders in the stores, and you know their excitement is like, it kind of takes me back to, I guess, when I'd worked on my first game. It's real now because people are talking about it, people are seeing it, and within where are we now? We're at the end of June, July, August, September. In under 3 months, people will actually be playing it.